guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a sort of updated version of my everyday makeup routine because I feel like it's definitely changed since I sort of did my last video, which I think I called Everyday Glam or something like that. So this is definitely a different routine since that video, and I've got a lot of new products that I've been using lately, and I just thought I would show you what I have been using so you can kind of just get ready with me. It's just a pretty cruisy Saturday today, so I'm just about to get ready so I can go out and run some errands. So this is just a basic, simple routine for me that I wear on an everyday basis, and I would wear this to my office, to the weekends, and it's kind of a good base to go from day to night as well if you want to wear it during the day and then touch up and kind of like add a little drama to the eyes to go out for the night. So anyway, I'll quit rambling and we'll just get started. I'm going to start off with a primer. I've already moisturized my face with my normal moisturizer, which is the Josie Maran Argan Oil, the light one. So I'm going to prime with this Mecca Cosmetica primer. This is the Soft Focus Smoothing Primer, and I really like this a lot because I think it's smoothing, but it's also really hydrating. So I just put this all over the face, and then I give it like a few minutes to sort of settle in, dry, whatever. And I always do my base first. I don't like to start with my brows or anything like that because I'm like really sloppy with doing my base, and if I do my brows first, I'll just end up messing them up. So I always start with base. So I'm going to start with my foundation, and I'm going to be using my NARS Sheer Glow, which if you watched my last Mecca haul, a lot of these products are from that haul. So I've really just been using this stuff like every single day. And I'm so stupid, I forgot to buy the pump for this foundation, so I have it just like this and I have to like pour it out, which is annoying. But anyway, I'm going to put this on my Real Techniques buffing brush and start with that. And I start on the perimeter of my face because I feel like that's where I personally need more coverage because I have redness and whatever else going on. So I just go around the perimeter first and just buff it in. I don't worry too much about the center of my face because I'm going to end up going in with concealer anyway. And I don't like to load up the product on my skin. So I really don't put much of this foundation like in this area at all. Just sort of buffing to make sure it's all like blended in. And then once I feel like it's pretty much buffed in, I take a wet beauty sponge and just go over everything to make sure it's nice and worked into the skin. This is a Chi sponge, and I love these because they're so affordable. They're like $8 and they work so well, just like a beauty blender. Honestly, there's no difference. So once I've got that all nice and blended, I'm gonna go with concealer next. And for concealer, I am using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I use the color Vanilla, which is light 2. This is pretty light, but I'm quite fair at the moment because it's winter. Well, fall, winter, and I'm not really tanning or anything like that. And I work side to side, so like I'll put the product on this side and buff it in with my sponge. Just do pouncing motions with this. I don't like swipe because I don't want to move the foundation that I've put down before. I love this concealer so much. It's the best concealer I have ever used. So buff that side in. Side 2. And I don't really use a lot, and I make sure to get this inner corner of my eye because I have a little bit of darkness there, like bluish tones. And I make sure to bring it up the sides of my nose as well, just so it's really seamless. And down around the sides of my nose as well. And then once that's all buffed in, I'm just going to put like a dot there, tiny little bit on my Cupid's bow, do a little bit down the center of my nose, and just kind of center on my forehead as well, just to balance the face and just so we're not only highlighted under the eye. And I'll just start here. Again, pouncing so I don't move the foundation that I put down beforehand. I love this concealer because it's like good coverage, but it doesn't cover up my freckles, which I like. I like my natural skin to kind of show through. If you like super, super full coverage and you want to cover all your freckles, you may need a different concealer to this one. And then once I buffed that all in, I'm just going to take a tiny bit of translucent powder and mostly put it on my eyelids to set that concealer. I really don't put this powder under my eyes anymore. I kind of stopped doing that. I'll show you guys exactly where I put it. So I just grab a little translucent powder. This is the Arbonne Setting Pretty Translucent Loose Powder. And just take it on this little fluffy brush and sort of just make sure to set my lids. This is a great eyeshadow base as well. So like eyeshadow base is done and sorted already. And then just take a tiny bit more, and I just do like right under my lash line, so like right here. And I'm just patting, and there's such a small amount of product on this brush. And that is really all of the powder that I put on my face these days. I've just gone off it. I just don't like the way powder looks on my skin for the most part. I feel like it just looks cakey and ages me, and I just don't like it. So that's really all I'm going to do with this powder. And then I'm going to move on to highlighter. So recently started using this highlighter because I got it in my Beauty Loop box. So this is the Josie Maran Argan Enlightenment Illuminizer. And this is a sample size, but it's like quite a lot in there. So kind of stoked on that. But the way I use this, so it comes, this particular packaging has a little pump on it. And the pump, like if you do a full pump, it gives you way too much product. So I just use the tiniest bit, like at the smallest amount that I can get out of this without, like, even that is just way too much. Like I'll never use all that, but the packaging doesn't really allow you to get less out. So it's kind of wasteful. Anyway, gonna take my sponge again and just sort of tap into the product on the back of my hand and then tap it out so that it's like even on the sponge. And then I'm just going to put it on my cheekbones. And just lightly tap it first. Kind of in that C curve around the eye socket. I like this too because I feel like this formula doesn't lift the product that's already been put down. So it's not taking away any of the coverage of my concealer or foundation, which I feel like sometimes can happen with these sort of liquid highlights. Do you guys see that? Oh my goodness. So pretty. I love it. So this is kind of, I'm gonna like really highlight my skin, you guys. So you don't have to do all these highlighting steps if you don't want. But this is like my base for highlight. I love really dewy skin, really glowy skin. I think it's very youthful and pretty, and even in the winter time, it's like if you're dry or anything, it's just nice to have like a really healthy glow. So I'm gonna put this on my nose as well. So the tip and just down the bridge, just a little. And I'll put it on my brow bone too. But I really like how that glows a lot. I do a tiny wee bit on the chin. In here too. Just because we can. Okay, then I'm going to move on to bronzing. For bronzer, I'm just using my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer, which I have been using for so long. But when you love something, why stray? So this is the Luminous Bronze Light. And I love this. I'm just using a Sigma F45 to apply it. And I just lightly tap my brush into the product and then tap off the excess. And then I start with a pressing motion before I blend. So I'm going to pat it in. And then I'll go to blend. And I use a really light hand with this bronzer right now because I'm not tan, and this is quite like a warm toned bronzer, so I don't want to look too overly bronze. Blend it. And then another little dip into the product and swipe it along my jawline. Blend it down the neck. And I really blend my bronzer up into my cheekbone and into my hairline. Another little bit and just do the edges here. Kind of frame my face a little. Okay, and then next we'll do blush, and for blush I'm going to use a NARS favorite. This is Madly from NARS, and this is just a little Mecca Cosmetica blush brush. That's such a tongue twister, by the way. And with my blush as well, I kind of, again, pat it on and then blend. And I blend my blush all the way back as well. Okay. Then I'm going to top off that liquid highlight that I did with just a tiny bit of a powder one. So I'm taking my MAC Soft and Gentle and a Morphe fan brush, and I'm just taking a tiny bit of this to kind of just brush over the top, like the really high points right here. And I just kind of take whatever's left on those, Cupid's bow, chin. And at this point I'm really done with like all my powders and face things, so I actually go in and use my setting spray now because I like to do it before I've done anything on my eyes, just in case like, mascara runs or whatever. So I go with my setting spray now, and this is the Urban Decay All Nighter, and I just douse myself in this really. And I feel like this stuff really has made it so that I don't need powder. Whew. Setting powder. Literally makeup lasts all day with this. Love it so much. So much. And then we're going to let that dry, and we will move on to brows and eyes. Alright, so once my setting spray has dried, I'm going to move on to my brows. And I use the Benefit Kabrow in shade 4. Which is pretty dark, but my brows are pretty dark and my roots are getting darker, so I like that. So for my brows, I just brush through them with the spoolie and try to give them a nice little shape. And then I go in with the Kabrow and sort of fill in where I have sparse areas. This brow is this is my Walmart brow, you know? This brow always gives me trouble. It's always the worst one to fill in. It's like takes me the longest time to get it even with this one. This is my freaking Chanel brow, okay? This brow always gets it right. This brow always looks good. Like, even without filling it in, it's not too bad, right? But this brow has issues. So anyway, I'm gonna fill them in, and I'm gonna use Kabrow, and I love this product, but I really hate the packaging, I'm not gonna lie. This brush, I don't like to use it like this, because I don't like this thing in the end. Like, it messes with my hands. I don't like it, so I just don't use that, and I just use this little teeny tiny brush and just take a little bit. I use very small amounts of this product at a time, and I feel like that helps me achieve like a very feathery looking natural brow. And I need a small mirror, like close, so I'm just gonna use this mirror and this NARS blush, and I just start filling in, and I start from the bottom, kind of like right about here, and get my shape on the bottom first. And then before I move on to the very front area, I'll just take my spoolie again and kind of run through the brow, just to make sure none of this product is looking too harsh or anything. That's really all I do. I sort of straighten out my arch a little bit and fill in through the top. And then the front part's always the hardest for me. Like, this is where it can go wrong, right? So I just try to take a very small amount of product on this and just make light little, very light-handed little upward strokes to make hair-like strokes at the front. And then one more time with the spoolie. And now for the hard brow. And then once I filled them in, I just set them with the gel. And the brow gel I'm currently using is this Brow Food. And this is tinted, and I really quite like it. It kind of, it's one of those ones that adds the fibers, so it kind of gives you that fluffy brow, which I like. And that's brows. So lastly, we'll move on to eyes. So for my eyes, I'm going to be using my Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. And I'm going to start out by taking a fluffy brush and just using the shade Tempera, the bone colored shade, and just kind of putting that brow bone to crease, really, maybe just a tiny bit on the lid. I know we already said everything, but I just like to do this, especially after I've used the setting spray, just to make sure my lids are like dry and smooth and the other eyeshadows are going to blend really well. So just take a tiny bit of that, and I'll even take it into my inner corner to start like the brightening effect of that. And then I take my MAC 224, which is like my go-to brush of all time. I use this for everything. And I'm going to start with the shade Golden Ochre, which is this one here. And I'm going to put that in my crease and blend it up toward my brow bone. And then I'm going to stick to the same brush and just dip into Raw Sienna, which is this one here, just to darken it a little bit and add a little bit more dimension. But same placement really. I might not take this one in as far, just stick it a little bit more towards the outer half. And you guys know I sort of always do this shape with my eyeshadow where I like really wing it out. And I feel like it elongates the eyes a little bit, so wing it out towards the tail of my brow, kind of, it's like a blown out shadow, right? Makes your eyes look bigger. I feel like it's really flattering. And then I'm going to go onto the lower lash line and just do the same thing, really. I'm taking my pencil brush now, this is a Morphe pencil brush, and dipping into Golden Ochre, and just going to run that on my lower lash line, and I do bring it down pretty far. And then sticking to the same brush, just dipping into Raw Sienna and kind of keeping this on the outer half. And then I'm just going to curl my lashes and add some mascara. And I'm just going to do a quick coat. And once you've done mascara, honestly, you could stop here. You don't have to do anything else to the eyes if you don't want to. And a lot of days I won't. Like, this will be it. This is like how I go to work most days in my office. But for the sake of today and for the sake of being extra, I am going to add lashes. And the lashes that I use are the 318 lashes from Ardell. And these are a very well-loved pair. So I've worn these several times. They're probably like on their last run, but I'm gonna use them one more time today. They're just little half lashes, and don't know if you can see really, but they're little and they just sit on the corners of the eye so nicely, and I feel like they suit my eye shape really well. So we're gonna use these. And then once the lashes are on, the final thing that I do is I take a little tiny angled brush and I dip into a dark brown or a black shadow, and I just make sure that my lash band is covered and that it's blended. So this is a MAC 266 brush, and I'm just going to dip into Cypress Umber, which is the dark brown from the Anastasia palette, and I just put a little bit of that on my brush. And I'm just going to kind of dab over the lash line so that we blend, particularly in here. And we might just add a little inner corner highlight. So I'm going to take Primavera from the Anastasia palette and just dab it in my inner corners. Just for a little sparkle. Alright, and last but not least, I just do a little bit of something on my lips. Sometimes I just wear chapstick, which is actually what I'm wearing now. But today I'm going to take this NARS Velvet Matte Pencil, and this is the Dolce Vita one, and I'm just going to kind of dab this on. I don't want it to look like I'm wearing a lip, really. And this is really close to my natural lip color. I just want to make sure that my lips have a little definition. And that's it. And that completes my basic everyday makeup look. This is my simple, this is like my go-to glam. Like, really, this is what I basically do all the time now. I haven't really been doing anything but this, even when I go out at night. I don't know. I just feel my best like this. I'm the most comfortable. Obviously, heavy focus on skin. But yeah, this is it, you guys. Don't forget to let me know what you guys are using on a daily basis down below in the comments. And hit the like button if you did like this video. And what's last? Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'll put my Instagram handle here and also down below if you want to follow me there. But other than that, you guys, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!